In the movie Iron Man in 2008, 17 years have passed, they already introduced Tony Stark's house as an intelligent entity controlled by a kind of digital assistant called Jarvis. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If not, then take a look, because the movie is worth watching. In short, this Jarvis controlled lights, climate, doors, security systems. Of course, 17 years have passed, and although it's true that there are countries like China, for example, surely the most advanced in this, where 9 out of 10 homes have at least one smart device, or the United States, where it's said to be 8 out of 10 in homes, according to various reports, the reality is less exciting than fiction because deadlines are not being met. At least reality does not move as quickly as the movies. In one of the big problems, Victor Alonso, how are you? Welcome to What's Coming.
Very good. Pleased to meet you.
Likewise. Victor, perhaps it has been the lack of interoperability between different devices. That is, you bought a smart device from one brand, you bought from another, and they couldn't communicate with each other in the homes.
And of course, there are several problems, but one of them is precisely that. That in the end, you buy each device from a different brand. So first, you don't know if it will work well or poorly. You have to do a little study or buy it, and then if it works poorly, set it aside and buy another one. No? And then also that they don't talk to each other. So the automation, the possibilities for automation are very limited. I mean, you can't make, the television talk to the curtains or to the video intercom or to the lights. It's all very each one has its own ecosystem and its way of working. So you have to have many apps on the mobile, and that's what I say, they don't talk to each other.
Now, we will immediately present your project, the Real Smart Home. You are the CEO of this company and of the solution that you have created, which is succeeding. And also, I am very happy to have you because you are certainly talent, as I like to say, made in Spain. That is a Spanish person bringing the talent of innovation and technology around the world. But first, I want to ask you, because I think it's important to explain this, Victor. Back in the year 19, major tech companies like Apple, like Google or like Amazon, right? But that first solution chip, the one created in 2019, what problems did it have? Why did they have to evolve it?
Of course, the thing about big companies like Amazon and Google is that they have indeed seen as if we made this gap or these problems that existed, and they have created a solution. But the solution they made really benefits them more than the customers or people. And the first problem that both Google and Alexa, for example, the smart speakers that exist now have, is firstly that they need an internet connection, which means you already have a dependency that if you build the whole smart home around a dependency that is external, that you do not control, well, of course, if the house, for whatever reason, temporarily loses internet, or if there is a problem, then you are left without any kind of automation. And then it has the more serious problem, which is the one that it's also talked about a lot, which is the issue of data. In the end, what these companies want is to collect as much data as possible, of course, and all the information they have is on their servers. They can use it for whatever they want, to buy, to sell. So in the end, all that information, which is massive because a smart home logically generates a ton of information, you're basically giving away to these companies that can do whatever they want with it. They can know, basically everything about you, your habits, your schedules, what you do, what you don't do. When any door opens, just imagine the amount of information that generates, a whole house.
Totally. So I understand that the Real Smart Home 10 which in the end is your innovation, your technology, on one hand allows what we were saying, that smart devices from different brands connect with each other, communicate with each other, and make decisions. That is clear. The second is the privacy of the data. Therefore, tell us about your project, because when we are talking about a smart home, I'm saying this now for everyone who is listening to us, that maybe, there's a percentage that might have it clear, others not. Turning on the house lights from our mobile, or turning on the heating, or setting it 2 hours before we arrive. But we're talking, Victor, about a step further, that is, the house can make decisions by itself based on the goals we have set.
Of course, exactly. I mean, the topic of automation, the first little step, so to speak, are what you mentioned, being able to turn the lights on or off remotely, the hatting. They're like the first little steps. But of course, this is already much more. It's what you mentioned at the beginning about Tony Stark, a bit similar, because in the end, the house is programmed with rules and automations that are programmed once and then work forever, so to speak. Because what we don't often realize is that we do many things at the same time every day. For example, you have a bathroom without a window. Every time you enter that bathroom, you always turn on the light. So what sense does it make that every time you enter the bathroom, you have to turn on the light yourself? Or you leave the bathroom and maybe you leave it on. What sense does it make for you to you have to remember to turn it off and all those things? And the same goes for a lot of automations. In the end, in a house, we always say that It's not the typical things like, no, of course, but we integrate heating, lights, but anything electronic or anything electrical in a house can be connected to the system. And of course, it provides much more functionality.
So tell me, Victor, the craziest thing you've been asked to do. I mean, the development, where you think this, I mean...
Of course, for example, 2 weeks ago, precisely a client asked us for something that no one had asked us for before. And then this particular client told us, if you could make it so that when I'm at home listening to music, if someone calls me, the music stops automatically, just that would be enough for me. Because the problem I have is that I don't listen to music at home because I'm getting calls on my mobile all the time. And every time they call, I have to find the remote, pause the music, take the call, and in the end, I don't play music. So we told that client, no one has asked us for that. So give us a couple of days, we'll investigate if it can be done, and we'll get back to you. And well, the next day we send a message, hey, yes, it can be done. We've seen the option. In the end, the mobile, also connected to the system, knows if you are on a call or not, and stops the music automatically. So in the end, that's it. The potential is so great that we are discovering even ourselves new things all the time because we have a ton of options available, but they are almost unlimited. I mean, the potential is almost unlimited.
You mentioned, Victor, two quite interesting things that I want us to talk about. One is when we talked about that solution, right? That big companies like Alexa, Google Home, Apple HomeKit have created, right? You mentioned that they are solutions that depend on the internet, right? Meaning if the network goes down, the system goes down.
In your case, how do you protect yourself from this, or how does your infrastructure work?
Sure. What we really do is a bit everything contrary to the trend. The trend right now is for everything to be cloud-based. So then, yeah, the cloud, we always say, is very good for certain things. I mean, you can use the cloud for backups or certain things, which is very good, but not to have, as we would say, the sole copy of your data or the sole functionality for everything to work. So what our system does is, in the house, we install a smart hub, which is basically the brain of the house, the one that has all the software and all the rules. And in that smart hub is where everything runs. The application, the house plan, where we also have a customized user interface, the rules, and all the data generated is stored in that smart hub. It's like what I was saying, we bring the data back to the owner, so that the data is not accessed or maintained by just anyone, but rather it's the owner of the house, the owner of the system, who has control over their data.
And I understand, Victor, because surely someone is wondering, I, for example, have at home... I have electric blinds, right? So imagine that thanks to your solution, every day at 8, because I wake up at 8, the blinds would automatically open at that time. Or upon detecting movement in the living room, meaning that the house could know that I'm entering the living room, the blinds would open automatically, right? But what happens, the day the power goes out, I mean, can it be disconnected from that brain so that the person has to activate the button and raise them again? I mean, are we going to be stuck or what?
I mean, the system is always designed in a way that there is always the manual option to go to the wall switch, to go to the thermostat, to go to whatever it is to manually work with it. When the power goes out, we have options, for example, to connect a UPS, a battery, so that both the router and our smart hub keep working. This allows the person to continue accessing and seeing if the doors open or close. They can even have access to the cameras if we connect them to the same UPS. But even without having that, the only thing that will happen if you don't have that battery is that when the power goes out, logically, the system disconnects, everything turns off. But when the power returns, for a few minutes, the system won't be working. So during that time, if the user wants to open a blind, they'll have to do it manually by pressing the switch or having the light. And after 2 or 3 minutes, when the system starts up and everything is restored, everything will work as it was. So in the end, what we do with any device we recommend and install is always think about what happens if something fails? What happens if the battery doesn't work? The same thing happens to us with the smart locks. There are many smart locks, but the ones we recommend, the models we recommend, always have a physical key. Why? Because in the end, everything can fail. Technology can always fail. So something that doesn't have a physical key is very cool, very nice. But what happens if the battery breaks, if the motor doesn't work? So all those things are what make us recommend the models we consider better out of all the ones on the market. A client might say to us, look, I want this one that is the best, the most beautiful. I want to install this. Then we will tell them the limitations it might have. And of course, we will work with that device. So we also do a lot of educating, a bit of telling people, hey, just so you know, if this can happen, be aware that you have these limitations or it's a possible issues. If you accept them, great, but at least keep it in mind. So it is.
How great. We are here talking about science, technology, innovation. We are talking about the houses of the present future, meaning smart houses. As I said at the beginning of this section, in 2008 in Iron Man, we could already see Tony Stark's house, with that AI, a kind of digital assistant called Jarvis, which could make decisions by itself, right? And the Real Smart Home is working on that kind of Jarvis, which is the company of Victor Alonso, a very talented Spaniard. By the way, Victor, where are you succeeding? In which parts of the world is your technology, your innovation being established? Tell us where Made in Spain is succeeding.
Well, right now, basically, we are doing projects in the United Kingdom and in Spain. I mean, we cover both countries. So in any of these places, we can work. And we are even receiving also questions or offers from people like, hey, can we do a project in such country? And I tell everyone the same. Initially, we have no geographical limitation. 100% of our work can be done remotely because we can work with local peoples, electricians or installers who do the physical installation. But always before entering a new country, what we do or what we are going to do is thoroughly analyze the electrical installation, what type of devices there are, a bit of the standards to ensure, of course, the best service.
How nice. Well, now we know the United Kingdom and Spain, although you can reach any part of the world. The key is to evaluate the project. And finally, Victor, by the way, congratulations, okay? Because this is indeed a very important Spanish innovation you're working on. And that's why we're giving you a voice here in what's coming. Lastly, the privacy issue. We're talking about smart devices and many people are reluctant to install them at home because of the issue of, hey, the smart speaker is recording me. The security cameras, right? On one hand, you say, hey, having them is great because they protect us from external threats, but they are also recording everything we are doing. And as you were saying, big tech companies like Amazon or Google, in the end, live off our data, right? And you were saying that you are working on something else. What is something else? What is that other thing?
Of course, we basically go against the current. All the big companies want to get your data, have your information, be able to buy and sell it, and analyze it. We do the opposite. For example, to give you an example, one of the services we offer is the ability to isolate security cameras. So they are on a VLAN, which is called an internal network that only has access to that. With this, when we implement that system, the cameras physically do not have access to the internet. Yeah, even if the camera is hacked, or if you don't trust the manufacturer of that camera, and you really shouldn't, it might be sending data to a server somewhere in the cloud or wherever. Since we physically block that access to the camera, that camera can only send the video and audio feed to our smart hub to record data and analyze it and all that. That camera, even if it were hacked or trying to send data to a server from the factory, couldn't. I mean, it could only perform its function, which is to send the video and audio to the place we want. So it's one of the examples. Also, for example, we are working on making a smart speaker that operates locally. It's not ready yet. We're working on it. But what we also want to do is that try to replace the typical Google Alexa. And what they do is that first they force an internet connection, which is a dependency we try to eliminate in all cases. And then besides that, the data, where is it? What do they do with it? What don't they do? And the people who ask these questions, those are the questions that need to be asked. As more people should even ask themselves these questions like, hey, I just bought, a camera. Is it sending data somewhere? Or I just bought any device, hey, whether it has a microphone or not, even a light switch there, because in the end, everything can send data somewhere. It has even been discovered, for example, Google, which some time ago started when it bought the company Nest, that in some thermostats, Google placed a microphone. No one knew for what or why, but they didn't make it public. So maybe they wanted to do it for some future feature or just to listen. But since they didn't make it public, it was never known. But those are things we know for sure, that large companies want data. Of course, that's what they rely on. So we go the opposite way against the current.
That's good. So, hey, this interview has helped us get to know your project and also make us reflect when introducing new smart devices into our homes. Victor Alonso, the Real Smart Home, a great project that, by the way, we have to say one thing. I always end the program, Victor, by saying if you are involved in any innovation or technology project, or if you know someone who is, contact us for what's coming, because we are going to give it a voice. We are going to analyze the project, and if it's worth it, we are going to give them the speakers. And that has been your case. I'm going to tell it was your mother who contacted us to say, hey, my son is in a very interesting project.
Indeed. My mother listens to you practically every day. She always has the radio on. She has it in the background, and she loves these things. And just it happened to me that she heard your program, heard that if you know someone, and she said, hey, I do know someone and very close. So look, let's give it a try. See if the public might be interested.
Yeah, great. Well, that's it. Victor, good luck, and we'll keep an eye on you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.